Yeah.
Good evening and welcome to the Weymouth Town Council full council meeting. Just to let you know that Councillor Weaving has been taken to London upon the death of her son-in-law. So we are going to send our condolences for council and really hope that she's giving a lot of support to her family and getting support also. You have the opportunity to have a co-chair, a deputy chair. But I kind of feel this meeting is more legal requirements. So unless anybody says now, I'm going to just hold on and not bother with a deputy. Yeah, everybody right here. Okay, so I'm going to start with apologies for absences. We have apologies from Councillor David Bray, Councillor Graham Winter, Councillor Anne Weaving, Councillor Pete Barrow, Ryan Hagan's here, Councillor Howard Legg, and Councillor Michael Frost. Are there any other apologies? Can I get a proposed for them? No. Councillor Bowman. A seconder? Councillor Farring. All those in favour? Do we have any declarations for interest before we move on?
Yes, to confirm, Chair, we haven't had any dispensations.
So on to the minutes of the last meeting. I hope that everybody's had a chance to just briefly look over. Are there any amendments anybody wants to make? Oh, yes, Councillor Norman.
Thank you. I've had a look through, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't have an amendment. At the moment, the report says Councillor Northern provided a verbal report before it was open for discussion. I actually spoke to a written item on the agenda, which was item 13, and I summarised the background for the neighbourhood plan, the affordable homes paper which was attached, and the proposed motion. So I think it needs to say, saying a verbal report gives the impression that it was ad hoc, and as everybody who listened knows, it wasn't ad hoc. So I will, if I may, pass that on. And then further down, it says Councillor Northern responded that the council did go out to public consultation early on, including multiple walkabouts. The intention is to publish the information, but not before they have confirmation from the owners of relevant sites. It's sort of, I'm sure I said something like that, but for clarity, it needs to say that the walkabouts and the early consultation has already been published. The issue which hasn't been published is the site information. So it needs to say the intention is to publish the site information, but not before. So it's just a word omitting. And if members are happy, I can pass this amendment, which I've written on here, to Secretary for the meeting.
So can we have a proposer and a seconder for one?
Can I propose it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm happy to second.
And all those in favour? So we'll make that amendment. We've got again
One abstention.
one abstention.
Not present at the moment.
Do I need to take the minutes now?
It may be worth sharing.
Okay, so we're going to approve the minutes further to that amendment. So can I have a proposer and a seconder, please?
I'll propose.
Councillor Harris, proposer, and seconder, Councillor. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Right, 2 abstentions. Okay. Thank you. Right, moving on. We haven't had any councillor questions or statements put in, but I thought this was a good opportunity to mention that Councillor Hope had raised tonight that we have had a questionnaire sent by Charlie to fill in around our events. And it arrived yesterday, and we've got until tomorrow evening to fill it in. Only 4 councillors have done it so far, so if we could try and get on that and make sure we feed back to her about all the events. Yeah, Councillor Hope.
This isn't working, but I'm sure you can hear. Just to clarify, it was sent around 2 weeks ago in the roundup, and with a reminder last week. But it would be very useful to the Services Committee if members could look at that and give it its attention prior to the deadline.
Thank you. Okay, the town mayor's announcements, we don't have any at the moment. I'm sure when Anne is next available for our full council meeting, she'll give us some feedback on what she's been up to. I haven't done any deputy mayoral things for the past couple of months, so I'm sure Anne will have some feedback. Okay, on to number 8 in our agenda, committee membership. Oh, public questions, sorry, number 7, public questions, we don't see any members of the public. Okay, moving on. Number 8, committee memberships. Now, Jane is unfortunately unwell, so she's not here at the moment, but I believe Councillor Wakeling, Councillor Berman and Councillor, I don't see any other councillors, have decided between themselves where they'd like to be on different committees. So unless there's any discussion, do we want to just go ahead with proposer, seconder? Are we happy? Proposer, Councillor Watley. Seconder, Councillor Dickinson. And all those in favour? Yeah. Any against? Any abstentions? Okay, we'll move that one on. Okay, next up, we have the external audit contracts. This is over to Officer Mill.
Thank you, Chair. Simply, members, those of you who have been in local government long enough will remember the old audit commission days. When the audit commission was abolished, a new committee was set up called the Smaller Authorities Audit Appointment. Doesn't roll that quickly into the time. And they're responsible for appointing external auditors to public bodies. The next 5-year procurement has taken place, and we do have the opportunity not to go with the appointed auditor as recommended by the SAAA. Just to say to members, this hasn't happened before, and we recommend that we do stay with the appointed auditors. I think one of the reasons why you wouldn't stick with them is if you had a particular issue with a particular external auditor who had been appointed. We're fortunate that we're not in that position. Members will see from the report that where it says there's the key implications, there's a number there which I'm sure you will have read, which would impact on us if we did decide to opt out. But we're just asking members to confirm the decision as recommended by the Finance and Governance Committee and not to opt out and to go with the external auditor as suggested by the SAAA.
Okay, does anybody want to talk on that? Oh, it's gonna be quick. Okay, so any proposers? Okay, we'll go with Councillor. Seconders? All those in favour?
Yeah, I think that's unanimous, Chair.
Any against? Any abstentions? Okay, move on. Number 10, over to Officer Rickman again.
Each year, the Wayne Town Council is required to review its standing orders and its financial regulations. We have done this in the last few weeks, in the last months, and there isn't any amendments which we would want to make to the actual documents themselves. However, what we have done in terms of the financial regulations is just to tidy up the Annex A, which details, and again, this isn't one of those titles which slips easily off the tongue. It's called the Scheme of Delegation of Financial Responsibility to Spending Officers, which doesn't really mean too much, but what that basically means is it allows officers to have authorization limits. What it doesn't do is then let those officers just to go out and just to be able to spend without any other interactions or any control mechanism being put on top of that. So what this actually is just the first step of a 3-step process. So the officers on those lists and the amounts there, our finance staff will not do anything until they've got specific authorization from people on that list up to those limits. Then goods are to be ordered or invoices are to be paid. It then goes to the officers will then process those requests, And then if there's payments involved, then it goes to a separate process, which only myself and Jane review and sign up at the end. So I think it's a list, it can look quite scary when it says that myself, Shemaine and Jane, for example, can sort of authorize anything up to the budget level. But what it actually means is we'll just, it's the first step in the process saying these officers have to give their authorization before we can continue with any further goods being ordered or invoices being made. It's not a change from financial regulations, as we've already agreed. It's just tidying up to reflect changes in officers' roles and responsibilities.
Okay, does anybody want to speak on this? Oh, okay, Councillor Bergman?
Just a question, if I can. The delegated limits, are they pretty similar to other similar councils? Would you say, roughly speaking?
They certainly are. And when we looked at this, the limits are similar to organisations our size. Just to put it into context of why we have the limits the way they are, I'll just give you an example. At the beginning of the year, Tony Hurley, for example, might raise an order for the extension contract, which is at this level. And then this allows him to raise that order as long as it's within budgets and as long as it's within other requirements of financial regulations and procurement regulations. So that allows him to do that, and that's why there's no specific limits. He's bound by the budgets which have been set by this council. The secondary limits would then allow, for example, the resort manager to pay the monthly invoices, which would come under his limit. But it just gives a degree of delegation up to a point where different officers can do stuff rather than one officer doing actually.
Councillor Hamilton?
Thank you. I'm just aware, could you put in plain English, please, in the middle of the appendix? It says where an authorization would result in an individual budget being overspent, then the necessary environment would be approved and actioned before authorization takes place. That's the line in bold. That's language I don't understand.
Absolutely.
And it's right, isn't it, that councils can't go overdrawn, and can't go beyond budget.
So if I may, so our financial system has a number of controls built in. The authorization limits for each of the officers is built into that system, so it won't allow them to do anything unless they have the limits to do so. So if an officer tried to cure something and it was above their limit, it will automatically send it through to their line manager, so that it gets to a stage where those officers who have the delegated responsibility will be able to authorize that payment. In respect to the buy-in, what the system also does is it won't allow any payments to be raised unless there's sufficient budget. And what a buy-in is it allows delegated authority to budget holders to move a budget from one budget head to another to ensure that there is a budget there to make those payments rather than just keep going over.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions or anybody else wanting to speak? Okay. Committee proposer. Councillor Nicholson. Seconder. Councillor Huckle. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Okay, on to the next one. Number 11, the Dispensations Policy. Unfortunately, Jane isn't here, so I think Charmaine's going to talk on this.
Thanks, Chair. There's currently no policy in place to manage the granting of dispensation to councillors if they're in interest. To ensure the correct governance of such instances, the draft policy attached is there for approval. It has already gone through Finance and Governance Committee.
Does anybody want to talk on this? Okay, so proposer. Councillor Watley, seconder.
Sorry.
Oh, you do want to talk on this?
No.
You don't? Okay,
Changed
you're doing
my
seconder.
mind.
Okay, okay. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Huckle. Okay, all those in favour? Get this done before you change your mind. Any against? Councillor Weller, I assume you're not against? And
put my hand
that's all right, and any abstentions? Okay, moving on, okay, well, the next item is information items, we're just asked to take note of them, so does anybody want to speak on any of it, or discuss any of it, please stare at me, let me know. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, can they be noted? That's it. Right, I declare, I declare this meeting ended.